Hey, what's cracking? Hope this video finds you doing well. I hope that you, my friend, have everything going your way. If you don't feel like you have everything going your way, hell, maybe by the end of the video, you listen to some of this story, maybe you'll feel like things are going more your way than you realize. If you've never watched one of my videos before, my name is Ricky Dye, and I'd like to thank you for clicking on the video. I went to prison when I was 15 years old in the state of Oklahoma for murder, and I was there for 20 and a half years before I got out. In that time, I've seen a lot of things, and I've been through a lot of things. And I can't do anything about what I did in the past that sent me to prison. All I can do now is try to share my experience in hopes that it saves someone else from going through it. So I share these stories with you about the worst things that ever happened to me in my life in the hopes that it'll stop it from happening to you or maybe someone you love. I also make the videos to help anyone who has family in prison or is going to prison who may have some questions that I can answer. Maybe some of the things that they'll face, some of the things my mom faced when she would try to be there for me. So if you can respect that, man, hey, hit that subscribe button, give me a subscribe, hit like on the video, and I really appreciate it. I make videos. Usually, you'll enjoy my videos best if you'll start at the beginning because that's how I tried to start at the beginning when I was 15 with what happened and the crime and what was committed and what ended up with me being there the day that a man lost his life. What it was like to be certified as an adult and sent to prison, and then what it was like at each prison I was at. And occasionally, I take questions from you guys and make a video about it. And I got such okay. So these guys are gods. Watched a video and he made a comment and he asked these questions to me. He asked me, did it feel like a constant game in prison? Did it become increasingly dangerous as the years went by? How did I come to terms with life on the inside? And how did I manage the stress? And man, those are some good questions. And there was just too much to those to answer those questions without doing a video about it. So I thought that since I wanted to talk to you today about some of the stupidest things I ever seen someone get stabbed over. And who was the stupidest? Which one was stupidest? I'm going to let you decide at the end of the video. But I wanted to answer these questions because they were such good questions. Uh, did it feel like a constant game in prison? It definitely is that. So in prison, you're not allowed to show any emotion. You can't. If someone dies in your family, you can't go sit somewhere and cry about it. If somebody scares you or you're afraid, you can never let that show. The only emotion that you're able to show in prison is anger. And so I found that to be one of the biggest problems I had when I got out was it was such a default for me that if someone hurts my feelings, I got mad. If someone disrespects me, I'm mad. Someone hurts my feelings, I'm mad. Someone scares me, I'm mad. I just reacted with anger regardless what was coming at me. I had quit. I was instead of responding to what was going on around me in my life, I was just reacting to all of it, and I was reacting to all of it with anger. And every day in prison, you get up and you put a mask on, and you pretend to be that person. And everybody you meet, you have a different mask on, and you'll find yourself doing it in your everyday life. You're a different person when you're with your wife or your girlfriend than you are when you're just around the fellas or when you're around a group of people who you feel could be a threat to you. So when you're in prison, it's all about what everyone else thinks. It's all about, I have to do this because I'm afraid what people will think if I don't. I got to hit that guy in the mouth because he said this. And if I don't, people will think I'm a punk. So you have to put this mask on and you have to pretend to be this. And if you're not careful, in a very short time, you become the mask you wear. And next thing you know, you are angry all the time about everything in your life. And that was a real issue for me because anger became my default setting because of prison and wearing that mask. And did it become increasingly dangerous as years went by? Absolutely, it did. So when you go to prison, so I heard before I got in, you go pick the biggest guy and you hit the biggest guy you run into in the mouth. And that is the stupidest shit you can do right there. That can get you mashed out and turned into a vegetable. Yeah, that's real smart. No, you want to mind your own business, man. You want to stay out of everybody else's business and you want to project strength to avoid conflict. It's what the United States does. We got all these nukes and we got this great military, and we do that so that we don't have to go enforce our will because people know we're capable of it. And that's what you want to look like when you're in prison. You want to come off as a guy who is capable to handle himself in a situation, whatever may occur. But you want to mind your own business and try to stay out of those things. So one thing in prison also is that if you go and borrow a knife from someone, you have to use it, or else it ends up getting used on you, or you have to catch you out or whatever because you were too afraid to use that knife. So once you go and you get a knife, people begin to look at you completely different. And that happened for me. When I first went into prison, I was a 17-year-old kid when I hit the yard. Just turned 17 a couple months before, weighed about 140 pounds, 5'6", 5'7" if I was towering in my boots. And I just wasn't a threat to anybody. They would figure even if maybe he'll fight, but he ain't big enough to hurt nobody, and they didn't think that I would go get a knife. So I wasn't a threat to them in that way. So if you got into a fight with me, it was much more likely that we would just be in a fist fight because no one was going to go grab a knife. But somewhere along the way, when I finally did pick a knife up, and I'm going to tell you, I was one of the stupidest things I ever seen anyone get stabbed over. So I'm going to put myself right on the list. So I'm running a poker game at Hinton. And I've had this reputation, man. I've got the reputation that Ricky Dye will go get a knife. Ricky Dye always has a knife. During the time when I was in a wreck there and I owed a whole bunch of money before I was able to get the money, my mom got a settlement and bailed me out of a big wreck I was in. I've made a video about it, and there was a time I was in debt for over $4,000. And I wasn't about to catch out. So what I was doing is I was doing anything I could to make money. And I was running poker games, and I was making knives and selling the knives. I would make a knife and then go sell it to the guy I owe money to. People think I'm retarded selling people I owe money to a knife because they might come and use it on me. But I would always do this. I would make them a knife, but the best knife, the best one, the one that looked like a real knife, I kept it for me. And when I would go sell them that knife, I would give them the knife I made them, and then I would show them my knife. And every time they'd always want my knife, of course, but I wouldn't give my knife up. That was my personal protection, I'd say. But I made sure they seen it so they know I have it if they ever decide to try to hurt me. I did that as a deterrent. I projected strength to try to avoid conflict. But at the same time, by letting them people see that knife, they know I've got that knife. So if they do decide to come and get me, now they're not just going to come with their fist. Now they're going to try to catch me unawares when I don't have that knife. And so I was running the poker game on this particular day, and I had been living in this day room. The day room was supposed to be a program, a drug program, where you did a voluntary UA once every month. And we went and we did classes for RBT, that's rational behavior training. Teaching you how to have a tool belt that you could pull out these different tools anytime you were in any situation and use these tools to get yourself through it. Learning how to balance a checkbook and different things that would help you to succeed if you got out into the streets. They were giving good time for it, and I was trying to get those good days. So I've been living in this day room for several months, and everyone knew that I always watched wrestling and watched wrestling on every Monday and Friday night. Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. Back then, I think SmackDown was on Thursday nights, but everyone knew. And so in the unit we live in, there's AA, AB, AC, AD, AE, AF, AG, AH. I forget how many. It goes from AA to AG. Each one is a different day room. AA, AB, AC, and each one has about 18 cells in it. And the way that you watch TV is they've got these little, I call them couches out in the day room, but they're just little flimsy chairs that you sit on to watch TV. And there's 2 TVs on the wall. And the only way you can watch TV is with a pair of headphones and a little radio. And you just dial it into that station. Like number 90, channel 92 is one, and then all the way on the other end around 107 is another channel for the TV. And you'll just sit out there and dial in to whichever TV you want to listen to, and you'll sit there and listen with your headphones on. But people, everybody don't like to watch wrestling, and especially on Monday night, there's Monday Night Football during football season, so it has that to compete with. And then you always got people that are wanting to watch a movie. So usually the TVs, the way they go is one for sports, one is for movies, and that is generally understood in the day room. But if someone is sitting there watching the TV already, you don't come up and change it. First one there watching the TV's got the TV. But if you get up and leave, someone else can get the TV. But there's this guy in the day room, and he is a white guy, and he was around 6'2". He was a lot bigger than me. And he moved into our day room and had only been in there a couple weeks. But this dude never left those chairs out there. He is always out there laying around on those chairs watching TV from first thing in the morning till all the way at night. So no one's going to beat him out of a TV because he's always on the TV. But we've had a little argument me and him have about wrestling already. And I've told him, guys all over this unit from AA and AC, all these other units, they come over here to this day room on Mondays and Thursday nights to watch wrestling with me because they know we're going to be watching wrestling on one of the TVs. Everyone in the day room knows it. It's been going on this way for months, dude. So you're not going to come in here and change it because you never leave the fucking TV. One of the TVs are going to be on wrestling. So I'm running a poker game in the day room, and I've got the TV. He's got a TV on the movie. He's got one TV, and the other one's on the movie or something. And that day there was a guard named Xenia, and he would bring movies in, his own personal movies that he had rented or had owned himself. And they would be on Tuesdays. We had movie day. They had a VCR set up to the channel that was broadcast on the yard, a little private TV channel, like plugging a VCR into your TV. And he would bring movies and show movies for us. They would bring movies on Tuesdays and Fridays for the weekend. So he would bring these. So he brought a movie in for that Monday. He just happened to bring a personal movie in, and everyone was wanting to watch it. But there was about 15 of us over here wanting to watch wrestling. So it come down to this dude hearing me arguing over the TV and me telling him that, look, dude, I've already told you, you just moved in this day room 2 weeks ago. We watch wrestling in here all the fucking time. They want to watch that fucking movie, dude. You're one guy. You're always out here in front of the TV. You're not running this TV. And I put it on wrestling, and I went and sat back down at the poker table because I'm running the poker table. And this dude stands up and just turns the fucking channel. So I walked over there, and I look him up face to face, and really I'm looking up to him because he's quite a bit bigger than me. And I said, dude, I'm telling you, we're watching fucking wrestling in here, and it's the last time I'm fucking telling you. And I turned the TV back. I turn around to go sit down, and before I can go sit down, he starts turning the TV again. So I said, fuck it. I slammed my cards down, walked over. We were in like AC, and I lived in the next day room over, like AB or something. So it was movement time. The doors were open. So I go over there and get my knife, dude. So that right there, why do people go get their knife? I was afraid. That's why I went and got my knife. But people aren't going to tell you that. People aren't going to tell you they went and got a knife because they're afraid. But that's the truth. You go get it every time. I've tried to stab 3 people in prison. And every time it was because they were bigger than me. And I was afraid that I probably couldn't whoop them without a knife. So I needed that. I wanted that as a backup. I didn't want to stab nobody, really. When I first came out of McAllister, I wanted to make a name for myself. But by this time, I'm not really wanting to stab this fucking dude. But this dude is a lot fucking bigger than me. So shit. So I go over there and I get this knife. And let me tell you, man, that you don't want a big old knife. I learned that day. This is a big old knife, something you could pull it out and show it off, and it looks scary. But them big old knives, dude, I had it on my side right here. And I come back in the day room, and I walked over there. I walk up to the TV, and he's sitting on the bench right in front of it. I walk up, and I said, I'm telling you, this is the last fucking time I'm telling you we're watching wrestling. I changed the channel. And I stepped back and waited on him to stand up and try to fight with me. But he stands up, and he's got on flip-flops. He didn't even go put tennis shoes on. He didn't think I'd do shit. Even though I told him I was going to get my shit when I left. I shouldn't have said that because it gave him a chance to go get ready. But he didn't think I'd do shit. And these guys that I'm running a poker table with are saying, oh, shit, Ricky Dye. He said, you ain't watching wrestling. So, man, dude, they're juicing me. So I'm worried about what all these other people at the poker table are going to think. Hey, man, I got this reputation. I'm supposed to be a guy that goes and gets his knife. I'm a killer and all that shit. And this dude right here calls my fucking bluff on the TV, and I ain't going to do shit. So I feel like I'm in a position where I got to do something. So I turned that TV back, and instead of him standing up and trying to fight me, I said, this is the last time I'm telling you, we're watching wrestling, motherfucker. I done told you, if you don't like it, get up and go put your shoes on. I changed the channel. I stepped back and started looking at him, and he dude just stands up, and I'm thinking he's going to go get his shoes on to fight me. Dude stands up, just starts turning the TV back. So when he did, man, I just hauled off and hit that dude in the jaw as hard as I could. You could hear it. Pow! Loud. It went off in there because it broke my hand. You can still see a knot on there today from that shit, probably. So the first fucking hit broke my knuckles. But it kind of staggered him. So instead of pulling my knife out, I thought, I can drop him. I staggered him. So I come in and tried to hit him with the left, and he ducked it and picked me up off the ground like he was going to slam me. So I'm trying to keep him from slamming me. Now I'm trying to get this knife out. And I'm telling you, you don't want a big knife because I couldn't get that son of a bitch. I couldn't get it out. It was too long. I was having a hard time getting it out of my pants. But when he realizes that I pulled a knife out, he lets me go and backs up and puts his hands up and says, hold on, Ricky Dye, you're going to stab me over fucking wrestling? And I said, motherfucker, now I've got this big old son of a bitch out. I go to swing it at him, and he puts his hand down there and kind of catches my arm, dude. I just barely even scratch this dude. So it doesn't even, to me, it doesn't count as a stabbing because I barely scratched him. I mean, literally, he had a scratch. So, but this dude, we had a set of stairs, and you got to go up the stairs to get to his cell. And he runs around that whenever he realizes I'm going to really try to stab him. He runs around the stairs and runs up the stairs. So I go to chase him, and people jump between me. Like, Ricky Dye, you're tripping, dude. What the fuck? You're tripping, dude. This is just over the TV. You try to kill him, and dude's at his cell, and he's locked himself in the door, and he's screaming through the door, goddamn, Ricky Dye, you're going to try to kill me over fucking wrestling? And so I'm so fucking mad. I walk over and sit in the middle of the chair, pull them chairs over there and sit down in a chair and said, I'm watching fucking wrestling like I fucking said I was. And I was a fucking idiot. And that right there, that dude, he ended up coming to me, telling me he didn't want no problems. He was fixing to go to minimum security. We talked later that night, and he apologized to me. I never had another problem with him over that TV. He told me that he could not believe that I was going to be that serious over it. He had never been to prison before. The only place he had ever been was in a county jail, he said. And he said he'd never seen nobody that would really go get a knife over that. And he said, I'll be honest, I really didn't think you'd do anything. And I said, well, man, when them guys out there talking shit to me, dude, you put me in a position where you didn't leave me a fucking choice. So me and that guy ended up talking and being all right. And that dude went to minimum and went on home. But that could have cost me my life. That dude could have killed me while I was watching TV someday over that. Could have stabbed me. You should never really pull a knife on somebody, they say, unless you're going to use it. But you know what? I know. I see the police pull guns on people all the time, and they don't always have to use them. If you know somebody will use it, that's enough. And I think that was something pretty stupid to try to stab someone over. Because we were arguing over the TV, yeah, but is arguing over the TV worth trying to take a man's life? Absolutely not. Or trying to hurt someone or cripple them or any of it. None of it. It's absolutely not worth it. But as the years come on and you get known for that you'll pull a knife out, people expect that of you. And so, yes, it definitely becomes more dangerous. And how did I come to terms with life on the inside? Let me tell you that I didn't come to terms with it. People always want to say, you're so strong. Oh my God, you're so strong. You made it through 20 years. You've been in McAllister. You've been in maximum security. Ricky Dye, you've survived the worst places there are in this state. By God, you've lived in places most people can't walk. How did you do it? You're so strong. No, I'm not. I did it because I didn't have a choice, because they put me there and I didn't have a way to leave. I had to do it. And you would too if you have no other choice. And that's why I always preach it to you in these videos, man. Don't ever let anyone make it worse for you, baby. Because believe this, when I spent that time in McAllister, I put my own self behind those walls. It was my decision that put me behind those walls. It wasn't no one else's fault. It was my fault. It was my fault I went to prison, and then it was my fault I went from medium security prison to maximum security prison. So I never came to terms with it. And how did I manage the stress? There really is no way to manage the kind of stress you face in prison. When every single day is a game that you have to play, a mask that you have to wear. Every single day you get up, you have to be this person to everyone around you. You never can let your guard down. You never can show your emotions. The only things I found to try to help me deal with stress was to work out until I was exhausted, exercise until you're exhausted, or to read books. When I would read a book, I would always think, it doesn't matter if somebody's laying on a Caribbean island reading this book, if they're in their bedroom, if they're in prison. Doesn't matter who you are or where you're at when you're reading a book, you're all in the same place. And you can really escape through books. And that was a major stress reliever for me. I had a partner named Shithead. He was doing a 4-year sentence. He calls himself the great and almighty Shithead. He'll say, I'm the great and almighty Shithead. Who do you want to be? Man, he's a crazy man, and he's my friend. And I met him the first time when he was 19 years old in the OSP. And he only had a 4-year sentence. And when he first came into prison, he was in the holding cell, and there was a guy in another holding cell that called him a punk. They were arguing, and they were each in different holding cells, and they couldn't get to each other. And it's when Shithead first came in, when he was just a kid himself. You know, he's only 19 when I met him. He was 17 when he came in, and this happened. And now a couple years have passed, and he's went from minimum security, where he argued with this guy, to minimum security, and then he's got himself to medium, and then he stabbed someone and came to the walls. So here he is in the walls, 19 years old, for stabbing somebody, only on a 4-year sentence. He's about to discharge his sentence, and he ends up on an H block. H block is underground, and it's for people on death row, and it's for lockup for McAllister. If you go to jail in McAllister, you're already in maximum security, 23-hour lockdown, and you get locked up in jail. That means you're going to go down to the underground down there in H block. And they're single cells, and they're in a row. And Shithead's down there in one of these. And he's at the end. And this guy that he got into this argument with, when he first came in those holding cells, before he ever made it to a yard, this guy called him a punk. Now, all these years later, this guy hits that DU down there on H block, same time as Shithead, and there's like 5 cells between them, different people in between them, and that makes it where Shithead can't get him, because they come and take 2 cells at a time out there to the wreck, and they let 2 people, they'll take you out there, take your chains and shackles and your belly chain off, and let you 2 guys go in a little cage where there's even a cage over the top of you, but you can look straight up. There's walls all around you, and there's a fence over the top, but you can walk out there. It's about 8 by 10 feet square, and you can walk around out there and look at the sun through that fence up above you. 2 at a time. So they get down there, and Shithead buddies up to him. Hey, man, hey, brother, I remember you. And he acts like he don't have nothing against him, and he forgot about that calling each other name shit. He just wants to holler at him and kick him, and then Shithead writes kites to everybody in the cells between them and tells everybody not to go to rec tomorrow, because he wants to go with that guy. So Shithead stayed in. He made him a little old knife, and next day when they come to get him, take him out to rec, everybody don't go except for them 2. And Shithead goes out there with the police watching him, and him about to discharge and go home. He pulls this knife out and starts stabbing these guys that he carried out there between his butt cheeks in his pair of boxers. So all they could wear out there was boxers and flip-flops. And he's got this blade stuck between his butt cheeks. And he gets out there and he's stabbing this dude, and his knife bends. And the guards wouldn't come out there and even grab him because they were afraid of getting stabbed. So they wait until this dude crawls over there to the door. And when Shithead's trying to straighten his knife out, they grab him and pull him through the door and slide that door back shut real fast. So then in a little while, they come with electric shield and stuff to get Shithead. But he stabbed that dude for calling him a punk before he ever even made it to a yard. And there he was about to go home, and the guards watching, and he still stabbed that guy. So I think that's pretty wild, man. And for the last one, man, I was at McAllister. And there's these guys, and it's over 2 stamps. For example, there's me and you, and there's Bob. And I owe Bob 2 stamps. And Bob owes you 2 stamps. But up there on F2, you're waiting to go down the hill to Seaside or 8 side. You're waiting, what they call a pull chain down the hill. So you're trying to get down there to the regular part of McAllister and General Pop. And right now you're still on orientation. And, you know, I owe Bob these 2 stamps. And they pull Bob up and say, Bob, you're going down the hill. So he's not going to be here to pay you those 2 stamps. So Bob tells me, hey, them 2 stamps you owe me, Rick, give them to him. So I'm supposed to give them to you. And payday comes, and I say, shit, man, I don't owe you nothing, bro. He owed you. I don't owe you. And you're like, shit, you agreed to pay me. You told me you were going to give them to me. So the next day they went out to yard to settle it, and the dude that got you, the guy that I'm saying you were, ended up stabbing me for not paying those 2 stamps. So I seen someone get stabbed over 2 fucking stamps. So which one of those were the stupidest? I'll leave you to decide, because I really don't know, man. I've got some super thanks to say, to give out, man. So I want to show my appreciation by acknowledging some people for some super thanks. Michelle Chick, RSCD, Greg Tenney, Chris from I Hate Stupid People, Matthew West did 2 super thanks on 2 videos. So thank you guys, man. You know, I never ask anyone to do that. Never ask anyone for money. I never even bring up money, because these videos are from my heart. They're honestly, I get on here and share the worst thing that's ever happened in truth, man, hoping that it'll sway someone else from doing something that's going to end them up in prison. Because if I can just stop one fucking person from getting in trouble, man, if I can get one person to stop and think, if I can get somebody to get up in the morning because they watch my video and it causes them to remember to pick their blessings up for today. Hey, man, I remember what Ricky Dye said, man. I'm going to get up today and be happy, man. No matter what happens, what comes at me, I'm not going to react to it. I'm just going to respond to it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be happy no matter what. And I'm going to be thankful for all these good things that are going on in my life. Because if you walk around with that kind of attitude, man, you're going to be happy most of the time, man. I'm not saying you can be happy all the time. Life's tough. It's a tough place, man. So there's no need to try to make it harder for yourself, ever. And I have an apology to give out, man. I said anyone that wanted to buy a shirt, Riders and the Dyers, I said if 25 for the shirt, 7 for shipping and handling, anything over, I'd eat it. I had no idea that someone would try to buy one from around the world in Austria. Ruby Neo sent me the money on PayPal, and I'm gonna have to refund that, because whenever Chris, I have the guy that does my shirts. What happens when you send me the money for your shirt? I forward it to my guy, Chris the Shirt Man. Shout out to Chris the Shirt Man. And then he fills those orders for me. I'll say, Chris, I need one of those shirts with the guy setting side straddle. I need it black, or I need a blue, or I need a beige, and I need this size, and I need it sent to this address. And I'll send the money on to him. And then he goes, and if it's over $7 anywhere in the United States, it ain't gonna cost more than 10. So if it's a little over 7, we just eat that. But when he went to send her shirt today, the cheapest he could mail it to Austria was $64.20. So right at $65 to mail the shirt. So I had to do a refund. And Ruby, I'm so sorry. And maybe sometime in the future I could send you something else as a token of my appreciation for your support. And I'm sorry for that. But from now on, I will have to say, if it's in the U.S. and it's over $7 for shipping, then I'll eat that. And I want to thank all you guys for your support, man. The subscribers have been going way up. Every time I look, it's went up a few more. And it's really a blessing to me. And I never really thought anyone would care what I had to say. And there's so many things on YouTube to watch that I'm honored that you take the time to sit and watch a few minutes of my video. I'd like to give a shout out to the riders and the dyers. The riders who ride till the wheels fall off, dyers keep riding even when they do. Love you guys the most. Hope all of you have enjoyed the video. May God bless, keep, and protect each and every one of you until I see you again. Peace out.